Welcome to tonight's webinar, Farm to Table, How to Sell Direct to Consumer Without Spending a Fortune. We'll just wait a couple seconds before we start to just let everybody get in here. I want to thank you all for joining us on a Friday evening. I knew during the day doesn't usually work for everybody working, so I thought the evening was probably the best. During the webinar, feel free to post any questions in the chat. At the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So I'll go through the questions then, but you can post the questions all the way through the webinar. So let's get started. All right. So like I said, welcome to Farm to Table, How to Sell Direct to Consumer without spending a fortune. I'm Chrissy Wozniak. I'm from North American Ag. North American Ag is a news site where we discuss ag tech, ag policy, faith, and family. And we have two podcasts, the North American Ag Spotlight, which comes out weekly, and then What Color is Your Tractor? The stories of the ag brands you love and the ag brands you love to hate, which comes out monthly. So I'd be honored and I'd appreciate if people subscribe to the podcasts. We're on pretty much on like 25 different platforms. So wherever you are, we're there too. So whether it's YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all of those, you can also go straight to the website to find everything as well. So that's me, and let's dig in. So what we're going to cover tonight is really a way for you to get started connecting with your consumer, the kind of the simplest path forward. And I give a lot of options. So we're going to talk about website options, where to start, securing your URL. That's really important. That's really a first step. Hosting and platform options, setting up an online store, kind of the things to think through when you're setting up your store, how to organize it, whether you want to sell one-off or subscriptions for your products, whether you want to include pre-orders for whole or half animals as well. And then we're going to finish up with promoting to the customer. And so developing your simple message, don't get lost in the details, sharing your family's story, platforms for spreading your message, and some tools that you can use, some graphics tools. So before we start, I really want to talk about why I feel it's important to hold this webinar and why I feel that reaching the consumer directly is so important these days. We live in a world where agriculture is under attack. I know it's hard to believe, to really know what's real these days, but I can definitely tell you, I've worked in agriculture my whole adult life, and I talk to a lot of people in the industry through the podcast and through my work. And agriculture is under attack, and from many angles. So farms are subject to marketing narratives, right? And I'm sure you go to the grocery store and you can laugh, or you turn on the TV and you can laugh at how, sugar circles are healthy for you, and food in a box is better for you, and the bright colors and everything. So marketing, even though I've been in marketing my whole life, there is a huge responsibility that marketers should have to make sure that they're telling the truth, but we all know that doesn't happen. So because of farms are subject to that, I think that everyone needs to kind of take control of that message of what's healthy and what's not, and be able to develop a relationship with their community. There are too few packers. Anybody that raises animals for meat knows that the packers are all owned by big money. And there's, I've been to a lot of events, a lot of roundtables and speeches on how to fix it. The problem is that a lot of people want to go to government for the fixes, and we all know government isn't going to fix it. So there comes a time where we kind of have to just blaze our own trail, I think. Farms are subject to the fragile supply chain, and we know that well. And I think consumers know that a lot well from the past couple of years. So with this, supply chain issues, of course, food is perishable. So you only have a certain amount of time to get something into the hands of the consumer. So those are some issues. And then I want to go into a little bit more about how agriculture is under attack. I went to this conference in Minnesota in the fall, and it was quite alarming to me. There were a lot of speakers. It was about alternative agriculture, and one of this is a picture that I took there of one of the slides of the speakers, and one of the speakers was from this Good Food Institute. And the thing that concerned me was this, they're developing a roadmap for sustainable, secure, and just protein supply. What concerns me is whose opinion of just. I know a lot of animals that live wonderful lives and they have one bad day. So what does a just protein supply mean, and who's deciding that? This particular institute is throughout the whole world. You can see they're in United States, Brazil, India, Europe, Asia, and Israel. So they're getting a good foothold, and they are advocating for this in all of those places. So here was one of the speakers here, and they were giving the predictions for the future of meat, ag, dairy, alternative categories. So really this, going forward, they do really want to replace a lot of the meat that farmers produce right now. Here's just a quick screenshot of their website, and they alternative proteins like plant-based and cultivated meat offer a better way to feed the world. My question is always in whose opinion, right? Their challenge that they state is current meat production is unsustainable and inefficient. And their solution is we can produce meat from plants or cultivate it from cells more sustainably and efficiently. So this particular talk was really about creating lab meats. And then one more here. So if this was just a company or just an organization going around touting this, that would be fine. Except that really they are working with governments to government support looking for government support to accelerate the growth of these initiatives. So so all of the the evidence is there that this is being pushed forward. And kind of one thing that strikes me is all of this takes the consumer even further away from being able to source their own food. For many, many, many years, I've been concerned that people don't know where their food comes from, that the general consumer has no idea where to start, even in growing their own tomatoes or any of their own meat. But imagine a world where only scientists knew how to grow our meat in labs. So I don't like that future, and I for one will definitely do what I can to try to fight that type of a future. So coming home from this conference, there wasn't just that one speaker, there were a lot, but coming home from that conference, I really wanted to do something. And when it comes down to it, we can fight government policy, we can make calls to Congress people and senators and everything else, and we should be. But it's kind of in our hands if we can connect communities with their farmers and have the food travel less, have it sit on shelves less, have it, it will make a better world. So that's why I'm holding, that was a long intro, but that's why we're holding this webinar. So I'm also a person of faith, and I always want to know what God thinks about this. And the question is, farmers need to profit from their work. So 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 6 says it's the hardworking farmer who ought to have the first share of the crops. So even God wants you to profit. And this slide here will show you that farms are not profiting. So the farm share of every dollar spent on food from the consumer, only 14.5 cents goes to the farmer. So I know you all know that already because, it's your bank accounts. So, and this is also the lowest in 3 decades. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, and on the other hand, inflation has gone crazy. So the farmer's getting less and the consumer is paying more. And So it doesn't really make a ton of sense, does it? And it could be, we can turn this into an opportunity. If the producer wants to make more and the consumer is already spending this much or wants to spend less, there is an opportunity. And it's estimated that 218.8 million US consumers will shop online in 2023. So that's about 65% of the US population shopping online. They're already there. They're already looking for food. They're already used to ordering. So you just need to get in there and start working with your community. So it's really a win-win. How can you reach the consumer to provide them with an option that's healthier, cost-effective, convenient, and puts more money in your pocket? So that's the goal of this webinar. So we're going to dig into website options. So you're going to need to be online, of course, unless you have a stand or you do markets, which is awesome too. But we're going to talk about online selling. So where do you start? So first, you're going to have to just sit down to decide what can you sell, and then in what units you can sell. Just kind of flesh out, just on paper, kind of what you're thinking you can sell. You're going to have a logo. Make sure you get your logo designed. We're gonna talk about some tools later on, and if you need help designing your logo, you can always email me, connect@northamericanag.com, and I can help you with some resources and some options. Next thing you need to do is get good photos of your products. If you don't get good photos of your products, you can get stock images as well. And there are a lot of different places you can get those. We'll go through that later as well. You need to secure your URL, which is your .com, and then choose the platform that you want to work with. So first, let's talk about choosing a URL. You need something that's easy to spell. Maybe your farm name is taken, so you might have to get creative. It's actually quite difficult to find a URL that it's available these days. So you might have to bounce around a lot of different ideas. And don't forget that it's not just .com anymore. .farm is also available. So try your farm name .farm. That's a good place to start. And then where you go to get this is you can go to GoDaddy, Namecheap, even Wix will, you can get your URL through Wix, through Bluehost, through domain.com. I would check with what platform that you think you're going to use first to see if they'll host straight through there, which is sometimes a little bit more cost effective. But I also like to check with GoDaddy and Namecheap as well, because if there's available URLs, usually they're all selling the same one and maybe you can get a deal. It's also more cost effective to buy several years at a time. So it's not like you just own it. You still have to pay for the URL every year. It's pretty insignificant, sometimes as low as $2.99 a year, unless you have something that's very valuable, like money.com or farms.com, right? Or something like that. Then you might pay a lot more for that. So just do some exploring on GoDaddy and Namecheap or any of those and see what's available for you. So what platform should you use? So once you have your .com, then you need somewhere for it to live. So the first one we're going to talk about is Wix. Now, I really like Wix. I use Wix. And the reason I migrated to Wix a couple of years ago, just because it's very easy. I don't have to hire somebody every time I want to change something. And that was really important to me because I like to kind of get my hands in there and do some of the work myself. So I don't always want to be, having to go back and forth with developers. So the benefits of Wix. Wix is a really great solution for users that have zero website design experience and they want to create a really clean website that's up and running fast. There's full e-commerce solutions, and you can integrate with Squarespace, or even if you already have a provider that if you sell direct from your farm, most of them integrate with Wix. And there's also shipping integrations. I don't believe the shipping integrations work in Canada, but they do in the US. But there's ways to get around that as well too. They're fully set up out of the box with subscription-based items as well. So, and that means if you sell a vegetable box once a month to a family or every 2 weeks, that's a really good business model for farms. Or a box of meat or whatever, something that I really wish just for myself, for my own family, would be in the descriptions when you go to order meat, to say, okay, well, this certain box would feed a family of 4 for a month, right? Something like that. If you kind of put it so it's relatable, I know that when I think buy a quarter cow, it's really hard to like imagine how big that is. So make sure that it's really user friendly, and don't assume that people just know what you're talking about, right? By pounds or anything. In the grocery store, you can pick it up and see how big it is. So you're going to have to simplify it on your site. Wix also integrates with over 300 apps. So as you get into it, it can grow and connect with all of the other different apps that you're using, like MailChimp and your banking and everything else. So if you want to get into that, that's also a plus. There are automations available in the box too. You can be set up with Wix with a login area for your website where people can log in and become part of your club. So it would be your farm, join your farm for discounts and coupons or whatever. Be the first to know when something's available, and that's really great. So there's all of these automations that if somebody forgets to check out and just adds some stuff to the cart, it automatically emails them. So I think that's pretty cool. And it's cool that you don't have to think through all of those steps. It just kind of happens once you set it up. So I want to go for a quick tour of a Wix site here. This is the site of a very good friend of mine who lives up in the Hearst area in Ontario. So if you drive to Buffalo and then you drive 14 hours north, you would, well, maybe even longer than that, 14 to 18 hours north of Buffalo, you would hit them, and they're in the snow for a lot of the year. So this is their site. This is a Wix site, and you can see it's very clean. It's very well organized. It has great pictures. A good way here is to make sure you're always building your email list. That way you can contact your community anytime you need to. And you can see the products here. So they can order right online. So they can even put in sales, some discounts when they need to, and then you just add it to the cart. And then there's your cart right here. And this, I helped them a little bit get this up and running, and it only took a few weeks. And in a few weeks, I don't mean they were working on it for a few weeks. It was a few weeks beginning to end while they farm full time and homeschool their kids and have all of these other commitments. So I was very impressed at how quickly they got this together. So then you go right to the cart and you can order right here. So this has really been life-changing for them as well, because they're just getting these orders in, and they don't have to, be on the phone taking orders anymore. They don't have to process credit cards or anything. Everything is done online. So this is a really great solution. Let's go back here. All right. So now what's the cost of this? Now this can cost, depending on the different options, the different e-commerce options, it'll cost you between $16 and $60 a month. Now, keep in mind that you have to do all of the work for that price. So that would be you setting it all up, putting in all of your products, making the site. And if you needed help with that, then that's a possibility too. And then the price would go up from there. So the drawbacks of Wix, it's not fully customizable. So if you have like a dream of something you really want to see in a website and it's not available on the template, there is a good chance that you can't do it. So there is that. You can't switch templates after you go live. So you got to make sure you really love the template that you choose, because you cannot switch that afterwards. The page loads aren't the fastest. So you definitely need to make sure that the images that you're using aren't too big and that they don't drag down the speed. So that's a downside. And it's not specifically designed for farms. They have some farm templates, which are great to use, but it's not something that is like packaged for farms. Another option is Webflow. And this is it's a newer option. And here are some of the benefits. It is fully customizable. So where I said with Wix, you kind of have to live with what the template gives you. With Webflow, it is HTML, and you can design everything on it. It's good for people that have some website design experience already. It's really good for those people. And Webflow comes with Zapier integration options. And what that means is that it doesn't integrate directly with other programs, but there's a great little program in the middle. I use it all the time. It's called Zapier, and it will help two programs talk to each other. So it's kind of like this middle guy that's translating and then sending information back and forth. So that's a really good thing that Webflow has that. And it also has a university section with a lot of tutorials that can walk you through things. And that's important too, because it's a lot of work to put all of this together. And sometimes you just need help. So let's go for a tour. And this here is an example. This is just straight up. This is one of their templates. It's already here. You just start with this template and then put your own logo, your own pictures. And it's quite nice, right? So here you can see that it's sorted really nicely, and it's quite beautiful. And then the same thing, you can see here the About Us page. That's really important to tell your story there. And it looks quite nice. Same thing with products, and it has a cart. So this is a really good option for you as well. So let's go now to use Webflow. You're going to start at $14 a month, and depending on what options that you want for your site, it could go up to $212 a month. So this one can be a little bit more expensive if you don't want something right out of the box. It also, to purchase that template, it's $75. So this one's a little bit more expensive than Wix, but a lot more customizable. So some of the drawbacks: the e-commerce is not quite as robust as Wix, which means there's a little bit more setup that you have to do. It's just not like you can't just sell, get your site done in a couple of days and be selling. It just takes a little bit longer. You may need to hire somebody to help you put it together. If you decide on this and you need somebody to help you, let me know, and I can make you some referrals of people with experience with Webflow and people with experience with Wix. This again is not specifically designed for farms. So, there's some things you won't get, like, price per pound. There's things like that by weight. It's not going to give you cut sheets out of the box for ordering whole or half or quarter animals. So just keep that in mind. Now there's another option. So as we go, we're going to kind of go up the price scale too. So Barn to Door is a really cool kind of new company, and they're pretty revolutionary. This is built for farms. It is a full templated store that this team helps you set up completely, and it's your own place on the internet that is completely built for farms, selling direct to the customer. So it's more expensive, but you can sell your products by weight as well. The really great thing is that there's no markups on products, and there's no percentage of your gross sales or anything. There's no fee to buyers as well. So it's not like they're selling things for you and they're taking a cut. That's not what it is. They help you set this up. You're still doing the work of setting up your site, but they're helping you every step. And they also have some really cool things, like a marketing deck that's pre-made, so that if you're not really savvy with graphic design or anything, that you can download those templates and then stick in your logo. It's a really robust system. So it starts at $84 to $199 a month, and their setup fee is $399 to $599. And they have a few different options for for setup. And that's just depends on if you want to learn as a group or if you want to learn one-on-one, the number of products. So there's all of these different options and price levels. So you can find them at barntodoor.com. And I would definitely recommend taking a look. They've got some good videos also of how to set things up and what they do. So the drawbacks of Barn to Door are it's more costly per month, and you still do need, even though you're paying more, you still do need to work to do the work to set up your store. But they've pretty much thought through every problem a farm would have and have a solution for that. So the next one we're going to talk about is Produce Pay or Produce Pay. I say it Canadian, I think everybody tells me that. So the benefits of Produce Pay are, it's one that's built for farms. There's no upfront cost at all and no monthly cost. And through it, you pick preferred trading partners. So this is not directly to the consumer. So sometimes there's farms that really don't want the hassle of going all the way to the end user. Maybe they just want some buyers and they sell a lot. So if you have a high volume that you're selling and you really just want a buyer and you want to go directly to the buyer, this is where Produce Pay is great. So it's all of your trading in one place and you're getting rid of middlemen and you're keeping more of your profit. So I'm going to have this company on my podcast in I'd say the end of March. I think it'll be released. So keep a watch for that as well. It's a really revolutionary system that they have where, they say that food ends up changing hands 6 times, and the average meal travels like 2,500 miles before it actually reaches the plate. So their mission is to like mine, just get rid of some of those middle people and keep more of that money in your own pocket. There's also no direct relationship with the consumer. So if that's something that just does not make you, you're more afraid of that, you don't want to have that relationship with the consumer, then this could be the solution for you. And there's no elaborate storefront setup. You just kind of fill in the blanks of this page and give them just some basic information and they do the rest. So this one can be done very, very quickly. So there's package levels, and their business model is they take a percentage of your sales. So that's how they're paid. That's why it's very quick to set up, no upfront costs, no monthly costs, but you will have to pay a percentage of sales. And that varies depending on what it is that you're looking for. So some of the drawbacks of Barn to Door is no relationship with the end consumer. So sometimes that's a drawback to some people, that's a plus for other people. So that there's no storefront for your farm. So the website or the landing page is not for customers that you're developing with, or this should say Produce Pay, not Barn to Door. So yeah, that won't be seen by your end user. That'll just be seen by buyers. So now we're going to move on to setting up an online store. There's a lot of things that you have to think through before you start. And first of all, you need to organize your products. How are you going to group your products? Are you going to group by fruit, vegetable, meat, or will you have fresh produce in one category? So really just kind of think through your products and how you want to display them and how you want to group them. Will you sell one-off items or subscription models? And like I said before, the subscription model is really great because if it's just a one-off where people order from you once a month, it's up to them to remember to order. So if you offer these package deals that they subscribe and it charges their credit card once a month and they get a delivery of food, that's a win-win, right? You can really start depending on your income once you have these subscriptions set up. This also, or will you also allow for pre-orders of whole and half animals, or even pre-orders, if you know there's you grow a certain fruit that's only available one time of year, you could also allow for pre-orders and accept deposits. So think about those things as you're starting to think about your store. And then also think about farm swag. Now that's something that farms can sell, some cool designs on some shirts and some sweaters, and that really can catch on. I see at farm shows, I see a lot of people wearing a lot of different a lot of farm brands there, and they're not always their own farm. So the consumers like that, and especially if you're trying to build this community, this is a great way to build community, especially in your local area. And you go out to a restaurant and somebody's wearing your logo, that's pretty cool. So I'll also show you here. There is a company, and I use them for North American Ag, and it looks like, so this is our website, and if you come up here to swag, it actually takes you to this this store called fourthwall.com. It looks like my website, and it only took, I don't know, a couple of evenings for me to put it together. And fourthwall.com, and then it integrates with your site. And the great thing about Fourth Wall is that they take care of everything. So now anybody can just go on here. They can click on a product, choose their color, choose their size, add to cart, and Fourth Wall takes care of the printing, there's no minimum orders. They're just one-offs, and then it'll be delivered to their house in, I don't know, less than a week. I'm actually wearing one right now. So this is a very good option if you want to have a store for your actual brand. All right, go back. So now we're going to talk about promoting to the consumer. So in my head, the whole thing is really wrapped around building a community and building these relationships with consumers. It's sad that in the last generation that the consumer is so far removed from the farm. And I think it would be just excellent if people knew the farms in their communities and could start that relationship. So craft a simple message. That's really important. Don't overwhelm people with too much information. The simpler, the better. There's a great book, a marketing book called The Story Brand, and I highly recommend reading that. And it outlines how to create a brand and tell a story at the same time, but keeping it as simple as possible. And don't make it about you, make it about the consumer. It's not, so when a lot of companies will say, well, we're number one in whatever it is. But what you want to do is make sure that you're not the hero, that the consumer is actually the hero. So a way to, for example, would be to say that, consuming our produce, you'll have a happier, healthier family. So that way you're marketing to the consumer. You're not just saying, I grow the best beets, but eating my beets will make you healthier. So it's, nobody really cares too much at the end of the day in a busy life. They want a happy, healthy family, and they want kind of, their food to just be easy. So just keep that in mind when you're developing your message, but also tell your farm story. So I'm saying kind of, it sounds conflicting that don't make yourself the hero, but tell the story. People do love stories. So tell the story of how your farm started, the generations, what you do. And as all know from social media that there's a lot of farms out there that have done a very, very good job of telling their story on social media. Connect with local churches and food banks. This is a good way to start too. Once you launch your website, then go and start seeing what needs are in your community. You never know when you're going to have food that spoils or is going to spoil, or you have some leftovers. Go in and see if you can build up your community while you do this. This is going to help you get to know more people and really strengthen these bonds with your community. And then be sure to learn about geo-targeting your area using social media ads. It's a really effective way to sell in any area where you just geo-fence the area and then bid on words or with social media. Just young mothers between this age and this age, really target those areas. So definitely recommend doing that. There's kind of a thing that happens when people build a website. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of thinking. It's like you're creating this great thing and then you go live and release it to the world, and people, for some, they just think people are going to visit it. Well, that's not really how it works. There's billions of websites, and you have to do some work to drive people to the website. So that's probably one of the things that I see very often, are people like, well, I launched my website, but nobody's going. You definitely have to have some effort and some money and some strategy to get people to go to the website right from the beginning. So don't forget that. And another way is to host learning events, just to start building up your community. Teach people where their food comes from. There is a lot of interest. People these days, especially in the last 2 years, are more interested, have gone and seen empty shelves now. There is more interest now. So teach people where their food comes from and show people how to eat cleaner, right? Stop eating everything out of a box or a can or out of the freezer. Cooking classes, gardening classes. So yeah, teach gardening or chicken raising skills. Those, a lot of cities now will allow you to raise chickens in your yard, and these people weren't born knowing this, and their parents likely didn't teach them. So there are a lot of learning events that can help you build this community. Now, social media, like I said, you're going to have a strategy to build your community. And social media is a big part of that. Like I said at the beginning, we are on 25 different platforms and we post every day, several times a day. So make sure that you're posting every day, or else you're just going to get lost. I've heard some companies that I work with say, well, I just don't want to annoy people. Well, you're not going to annoy people especially if you aren't serving the algorithms by being consistent. The algorithms are not going to show you. So, and then be educational and fun. Don't just be a salesperson for your farm. So make sure that you're teaching people, you're being fun, you're being open, and you really are showing your humanity, and take beautiful pictures of your food, and just don't be a salesperson. And then, like I said before too, experiment with paid ads. They do work. And the great thing is you can set a budget. So if you set a budget of $10 a day even, you're going to get clicks, you're going to get people. And as long as you're really careful with how you target, you're going to be able to get your website in front of some eyes in your community. And then, of course, be professional. So that's sometimes hard in our keyboard warrior world that we live in. But make sure that, have your own personal accounts. If you want to argue with people, make sure you're not doing that on your social media, on your business social media. Now, one thing that I have to say is stand up for your values, right? There's the fine line of being feisty and fighty and not and allowing things, right? So make sure you're standing up for your values in a professional way. And then please don't fall into using food misinformation. Fight it and always tell the truth. I hate food misinformation. And, we see it everywhere, especially people in agriculture. And, I've had conversations with waitresses in restaurants saying, you're offering this free range chicken, but do you know that it will die, right? It'll die if it's not in a cage, if it's not enclosed somehow. So I have a hard time seeing this misinformation, being in marketing and seeing how these messages are not often a lot of times not true, and they're giving the wrong message to the consumer. So just fight it. Don't join them. Just fight it. So now we're going to talk about some tools to help you along the way. Canva is an excellent tool for graphic design. Pretty much anybody can use Canva. It's canva.com, and you go there and you can make, it has pre-made templates for pretty much anything you can imagine, from flyers to social media posts, and all different ones. Like this one's a Facebook post, Twitter post, YouTube thumbnail, YouTube background. So you just kind of type in what you want to make and it'll come up with some templates, or you can design completely from scratch, whatever size you like. There's a free option and then there's a paid option. And the paid option, you get a lot of different special effects. Oh, you can make GIFs as well with it. And you can also post directly to some social media from Canva. And there are some integrations with websites as well. So 2 thumbs up for Canva. The next one is Buffer. If you're going to be posting to a bunch of different social media platforms, you're going to go crazy, copying and pasting. So if you don't want to be going from platform to platform and you want to just blast out your message to all social media channels, then you need Buffer. There's, again, just like Canva, there's a free version and then there's a paid version where you get a little bit more. With the free version, if I remember correctly, you get 3 channels, 2 or 3 channels that you can post to for free. And what that means is Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I think there's a few more, but that you can make a post and it posts to all of them. And it even lets you make the post and then customize them for each platform as well. So you can make little edits to each one. And then you can schedule it. So you can have somebody come in and set in Buffer all of your holiday posts for the whole year. You can set up a post every day. So when I say posting every day, it doesn't mean you have to do it every day. You can make them ahead of time and then schedule them in Buffer. So buffer.com, very, very handy tool when you're marketing. MailChimp again too, it has a free version, and then as you go up in how many contacts you have, then you can have the paid options. But MailChimp is great to start with. It probably, of the marketing emails you receive, I'd say probably 40% of them that you get on a daily basis were made in MailChimp. And it gives you templates. It helps you keep all of your contacts in one place. And it also will integrate with most websites as well. And it integrates with like QuickBooks. It integrates with a lot. So MailChimp is great for as you build this community and you gather their email addresses to communicate with them and end up in their mailboxes. So I know everybody gets overwhelmed with email, but think about the emails you don't delete every day, the ones that you do look and see. And, I can think of 5 or 10 a day that I get that I always look at because I'm interested, like Tractor Supply. I always want to know what's on sale at Tractor Supply. So as long as you're relevant and you're giving good information that's valuable to people, they're going to keep you, they're going to not unsubscribe from you, and you're going to make more sales because now you have a one-way or two-way conversation with those people as well when you have different items available or when you have sales. Now, Fiverr is another one. It's not really a tool per se, but it's somewhere where if you have some, a technical issue or, some sort of a job where you're not quite sure how to do it, but it's a small job, you can go on Fiverr.com and type in what it is that you're looking for, and you can find somebody who can do that for you, can help you. So I use Fiverr for tech stuff. I'm not like a behind the scenes tech person. I know, I can get by. I can do my own Wix website, In our team, we can do almost all of it, but sometimes you just need somebody with a little bit extra, and it's hard to find or know where to go. So I usually, start with Fiverr, type in my problem, and see if I can find somebody to help me there. If not, then you've got to go to the computer shop in town or, call somebody who knows. But so those are my favorite tools there. So we're just about ready to wrap up and do questions. But in summary, here are your steps. Choose your URL, then choose your platform, then organize your products so that before you sit down and look at the website and start building it, then organize your products so you have an idea of how you want to sell them, and then figure out the best way to promote to your customer. And don't just expect that once you go live with your website that people will just go to it. You need to do the work of promoting as well. Most importantly, make sure that you build your community while making more profit. It is not fair that you're only getting 14.5 cents out of every dollar spent on food. It's just not fair. And with some effort, you can reach those consumers yourself and put some more money in your pockets. And that's what I wish for you all. So thank you so much for all of your time on a Friday night. If you want to reach out to me, there's my email address. There's my email address is connect@northamericanag.com. You can find us at northamericanag.com. And what color is your tractor? And feel free to reach out anytime if you need any help. So I will ask now if you have any questions. Okay, so somebody asked, would you mind sharing the book that you recommended again? Yes, it is. The Story Brand by, I think it's actually right down there. I can't remember his name. Donald Miller, that's who it is. Yeah. So Donald Miller, The Story Brand. Actually, if you go to chrissywozniak.com on my personal website, I have a tab that says the next book you should read. And they're all marketing books and the great ones, I think, anyway. So head on over to chrissywozniak.com and you can find my whole book list with links to the books there too. And let's see. All right. Can you talk a bit more about the best platforms to focus on paid ads? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or all of the above? So I would say LinkedIn would probably be the last that you'd want to pay for. It's very, very expensive and you're reaching a lot of professionals unless, if you have, I guess I should back up. If you have a niche where you're in a place with a lot of, high-end professionals, then I would say go ahead and figure out a marketing campaign to target those people. But really Facebook and Instagram are where consumers are, the consumers that would be purchasing. So I would start there. I'd probably start with Facebook is, I'd say, the simplest. Twitter's pretty simple too, but I would start with Facebook because, everybody's on Facebook. So any other questions? Well, I guess we'll wrap it up then, and we'll send you a copy of this also, or a link to it tomorrow, so that in case you want to share it with anybody, or if you want to go over any details. And like I said, reach out to me anytime if you need some help finding somebody to help you with this, or any information that anything I can do for you. And again, if you would be so kind to follow and subscribe us on North American Ag, What Color is Your Tractor, on any of the platforms on podcast, that would be awesome. And yeah, thank you to everybody that's saying thank you in the chat too. It was a good night, and everybody have a great night. Thanks.